The human stepped out of the transport pod onto the gleaming floor of the Empire's central space station. He had traveled across 3 star systems for this mission, and though his purpose was official and precise, a sense of wonder ran through him. The station was vast, more immense than any structure he had ever seen on Earth. Towering glass walls reflected the stars outside, and corridors stretched farther than his eyes could follow. Alien figures moved gracefully around him, their forms elegant and unlike anything he had studied in his Earth textbooks. He straightened his shoulders and adjusted the strap of his equipment bag. His mission was clear: deliver a report, gather information, and return to his ship within 2 standard cycles. Simple. Nothing more. Humans were respected for their intelligence, but often considered fragile. A species that relied on luck and improvisation. The human knew he would have to prove his worth quickly if he wanted the Empire to take him seriously. As he walked through the main hall, a soft chime announced his arrival. Court officials, dressed in shimmering robes that seemed to flow like liquid, approached and bowed deeply. Their eyes, large and bright, studied him with curiosity. Among them, a young figure stood out. A girl, or perhaps a very young woman, wearing the ceremonial garb of royalty. She was small, but carried herself with unmistakable authority. Her gaze was sharp, yet it softened as it landed on him. "You must be the human ambassador," she said, her voice calm but curious. "I am Princess Ariana, the new ruler in training of this station." The human inclined his head politely. "It is an honor to meet you, Princess. I hope my mission here serves the Empire well." Ariana smiled faintly. "We will see. Humans are different from most species I have encountered. Your kind surprises easily, and yet I sense you are not easily startled." The human chuckled softly. "I try to stay calm, even when surprises happen. It is part of being human, I suppose." She tilted her head, her eyes gleaming with interest. "We shall see how well that holds." The ceremony began soon after. Dignitaries and citizens of the Empire gathered to witness the humans' official welcome. The halls filled with quiet murmurs in alien tones. The human, standing among them, felt the weight of attention but held himself steady. He had trained for situations like this, and yet something about Princess Ariana's calm observation made him unusually alert. It was during the tour that the incident occurred. A sudden alarm echoed through the station. A high-pitched wail that pierced the ceremonial music. The lights dimmed slightly, and red indicators blinked urgently along the walls. The advisors and guards froze for a moment, unsure of the cause. A breach in the station's security system. It was a critical failure, one that could compromise the entire sector if not handled immediately. The human's mind worked quickly. He noticed the station's control panel flickering in a corner, unguarded and vulnerable. Without hesitation, he ran toward it, ignoring the protests of the nearest guards. His hands moved with practiced precision, interfacing with alien technology that had only minutes ago seemed utterly foreign. The lights blinked faster, and the alarms grew louder, but he remained focused, scanning the readouts, inputting commands, overriding the system's lockdown sequence. Princess Ariana followed closely, her expression a mixture of awe and concern. She had watched the human calmly assess the situation, while the rest of the court panicked. When he finally stabilized the system and silenced the alarm, the room fell into a stunned silence. You fixed it," one advisor whispered, clearly astonished. Ariana stepped forward, her eyes shining. "Remarkable. Humans are said to be clever, but I did not expect such composure under pressure." The human shrugged modestly. "I've had experience in emergencies. It is easier to think clearly when panic doesn't take over." She studied him for a long moment. "You are different from what I imagined. You do not seek glory, yet you act boldly. That is rare, even among my people." For the rest of the day, the human was closely observed. Princess Ariana asked questions about Earth, about the human species, about how one could rely on intuition as much as on technology. He answered with honesty and humor, explaining that humans often improvise because the world rarely follows predictable rules. By the end of the day, Ariana was visibly intrigued. She invited him to walk with her along the observation deck, where the stars outside stretched endlessly. "You see, this galaxy is vast, but humans are still able to make their mark," he said, pointing at a distant star cluster. "It is not strength alone, but creativity and courage that allow a species to survive." She nodded slowly, absorbing his words. "I am beginning to see why my advisors warn against becoming too attached to your kind. Humans are unpredictable, and yet, I feel a strange sense of admiration." The human glanced at her, surprised by her honesty. "I do not intend to be dangerous. I came only to serve in the way I can." Ariana smiled softly. "It is not danger I am concerned about. It is the possibility of dependence. I do not wish to be reliant on a human. And yet—" She paused, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Yet I find myself wishing you would stay." The human's heart skipped a beat. He had come here on a simple diplomatic mission, not expecting personal entanglements. But her words carried weight, and he felt an unexpected pull of curiosity and responsibility. That night, as the human returned to his quarters, he found a small communication message waiting. It was from Ariana. "Meet me at the observation deck before the next council session. I wish to speak with you." The message read. Curiosity piqued, he complied. The next morning he arrived to find her alone, looking out at a binary star system that glowed brightly in the station's viewing window. "You saved the station yesterday," she said without preamble. "Many would call it bravery. I call it extraordinary." He shook his head. "I only did what needed to be done. Anyone else could have tried the same." She turned to face him, her expression earnest. "Perhaps, but no one else would have done it with such calm and focus. You act with a mind that understands risk and a heart that does not waver. Humans are fascinating." He smiled, slightly embarrassed. "I suppose you could say the same about the Empire. Its scale is beyond belief, and yet it functions. Your species values order, and it shows in every detail." She laughed lightly, a sound that seemed almost musical in the vast emptiness of the observation deck. "You are easy to talk to, human. That surprises me as much as your bravery." Days passed and the bond between them deepened. The human assisted with minor diplomatic tasks, always showing insight that even seasoned advisors appreciated. The princess began seeking his presence more often, under the pretense of observation or discussion. But it was clear that her curiosity had become personal. Then came the moment that changed everything. The human received a transmission from his own people. His mission was nearing completion. In 2 cycles, he was to leave the Empire and return to his homeworld. He had not considered the emotional consequences until he saw the expression on Ariana's face when he mentioned it. Her usual calm demeanor faltered, replaced by a rare vulnerability. You will leave?" she asked softly, almost whispering. "After everything, you will leave?" He nodded, feeling a pang of regret. "I have duties, Princess. I cannot stay indefinitely. But I will ensure the Empire is in good hands before I depart." Her eyes glimmered with unshed emotion. "I do not wish you to leave. I wish you to stay. You have become more than an ally. You are someone I trust, someone I admire, someone I—" She paused, struggling to find the words. "Someone I care about." The human's heart raced. He had expected curiosity, admiration, even respect, but not this intensity of feeling. He searched for words, trying to balance honesty with kindness. "Princess, I care for you as well," he said carefully. "But I cannot abandon my mission, nor would I ask you to disregard your responsibilities." Her gaze hardened slightly, yet with determination. "Then I will not let you leave. Not until I am certain you are truly willing to go. I will not let duty alone decide your path." The human was taken aback. The princess was young, but her will was unyielding. He realized that leaving now would not only end his mission but could fracture the delicate bond they had built. He would need to navigate this carefully, balancing respect for her position with the unexpected pull of mutual admiration and perhaps something deeper. As he watched her stand against the window, the stars reflecting in her eyes, he understood that his mission had changed. What had begun as a simple diplomatic duty had evolved into something far more complex, a connection that transcended species, politics, and expectation. And neither of them could ignore it. The next cycle would be decisive. The human would need to prove not only his capabilities as a diplomat and problem solver, but also his worthiness of the trust and admiration of Princess Ariana. Their story had begun, and the consequences of their bond would ripple across the empire in ways neither of them could yet predict. For now the human could only prepare, knowing that his choices would shape not only his own fate but the future of the empire and the new princess who had, against all protocol, fallen for him. And somewhere deep inside, he realized he did not want to leave either. The human stood at the observation deck, watching the twin stars rise over the horizon of the empire's central planet. Princess Ariana remained beside him, silent for a moment as though gathering her thoughts. The previous conversation had left a tension in the air that neither dared to break immediately. He knew that leaving was no longer just about his mission. It was about choices, trust, and something deeper he had not expected to feel. "I have considered your words," he said finally, his voice steady. "I do not wish to leave, not entirely. But staying is not simple. Your advisors, the Empire, even my own people. Everything must be considered." Ariana turned to him, determination in her eyes. "Then we will face them together. I will not let anyone decide for us. Not now, not ever. You are not merely a visitor. You have become part of my life, part of this empire in a way that cannot be ignored." The human smiled faintly. He had expected formality, perhaps even resistance, but not this. Her courage to claim what she felt despite duty and tradition. "Then we must be careful," he said. "The Empire values order. If we are seen as defying it, there will be consequences." A week passed, and the bond between them only grew stronger. The human accompanied Ariana to meetings, council sessions, and inspections of the station's systems. He noticed subtle glances, whispered approvals, and occasional nods of respect from advisors who had begun to see him not as a curiosity, but as a capable individual. The princess's trust in him was evident, but not all were pleased. One afternoon, a senior council member approached them during a private tour. His long, pale fingers tapped against his robe nervously as he spoke. "Princess, the human's presence is irregular. We cannot allow favoritism to influence matters of state. Your attachment could be dangerous." Ariana's gaze hardened and she looked at the human. He understood her unspoken message. They would face this together. "I am aware of the risks," she replied calmly, "but I am also aware of his contributions. Perhaps the Empire should reconsider what it truly values." The councilman hesitated, then bowed stiffly and left. It was a minor victory, but it was enough to embolden both of them. Days later, the true test arrived. During a routine inspection of the station's defense systems, an alert flashed across the monitors. Unauthorized ships had entered the outer perimeter. They were small, sleek, and fast, clearly intended for sabotage. The station's security forces scrambled, but their standard protocols seemed insufficient. Panic began to ripple through the control room. The human stepped forward, immediately analyzing the patterns on the monitor. "These ships are attempting to bypass the main shield frequency," he said. "They are relying on timing and interference, not brute force. If we adjust the shield matrix and create a temporary counter-frequency, we can repel them before they reach the station." Ariana looked at him with urgency. "Can you do it?" "I can try," he said, already moving toward the control panel. The advisors protested, insisting only an experienced officer could make such a calculation in real time. But the human ignored them, his hands flying across the interface. The alien system was complex, unlike anything he had ever encountered. Yet his mind adapted. He visualized the patterns, adjusted the frequencies, and sent commands through the network. Minutes passed like hours. The tension was unbearable. Then the alarms began to subside. The unauthorized ships, unable to penetrate the counter-frequency, retreated into space. The control room erupted in applause, though some advisors masked their relief with stiff bows. Ariana turned to him, eyes bright. "You did it. You saved the station." The human gave a small smile, slightly exhausted. "We did it together." You made the right calls as well. I could not have done it alone. That evening, as the station settled back into its usual rhythm, Ariana invited him to the observation deck once more. The stars were calm, glittering silently against the dark expanse. She remained quiet for a while, her thoughts heavy but her expression serene. You risked much today, she said finally, more than I expected, and yet I cannot imagine this empire without you here. Your presence has changed everything. The human hesitated. I did not expect any of this. I came here on a mission, thinking it would be temporary. And yet now, I feel like I belong here with you. But I must still respect your position, your people. Ariana stepped closer, her hand brushing his arm gently. And I respect yours. That is why I have made my choice. I will not let you leave. If you are willing, I want you to stay. Not because you are compelled, but because you choose to. The human studied her, the sincerity in her eyes impossible to deny. Then, I choose to stay, not for duty, not for obligation, but because I want to. Because you have earned my trust, my respect, and, more than I expected, a sense of relief washed over them both. The first real step of their union had been taken, not without risk, but with honesty and courage. Over the next few cycles, the human's role in the empire solidified. He was given access to the station's strategic council, working alongside Ariana and other advisors. He introduced new methods for resource management, defense protocols, and interstellar communication that impressed even the most traditional members of the court. Humans, the advisors realized, were more than unpredictable. They were innovative, adaptable, and capable of leadership in ways the empire had rarely considered. Yet not everyone was pleased. A faction of traditionalists, fearing the influence of a human over the new princess, plotted in secret. They tried to discredit him, highlighting mistakes from Earth, emphasizing cultural differences, and spreading rumors of impropriety. Ariana, however, remained steadfast. She confronted the council, her voice firm and unwavering. I will not allow fear to dictate my choices. This human has saved our station, helped our people, and shown courage and wisdom beyond measure. If you cannot see that, then perhaps it is your perception that is flawed, not his actions. The council murmured, some reluctantly bowing in agreement, while others remained sullen. But the balance had shifted. The human's presence was now not only accepted, but recognized as valuable, and the princess's support made it clear that no one could easily remove him. Amid political tensions, the human and princess found moments of quiet together. They explored the observation decks, shared stories of Earth and the Empire, and laughed at the quirks of each other's worlds. It was during these times that they realized the depth of their bond. Not only admiration and respect, but companionship, trust, and the beginnings of love that transcended species and expectation. One evening, as they watched the nebulae swirl in brilliant colors outside the station's glass walls, Ariana spoke softly. You have shown me a new way to lead, not only through courage but through understanding. I feel stronger, wiser, and braver because of you. The human smiled, feeling warmth in his chest.
And you have shown me that even the most structured and ordered societies can have heart.
That even amidst rules and protocol there is room for humanity. They stood together in silence, hands brushing lightly, each aware of the fragile balance between duty and desire. Neither could ignore the change they had wrought in each other and in the empire itself. Then, news arrived from the outer sectors. A minor rebellion had started on one of the empire's outlying colonies. While not immediately dangerous to the station, it was a challenge that required careful diplomacy, strategy, and leadership. The human and Ariana immediately began coordinating a response, blending his quick thinking, improvisation, and courage with her authority and insight. Through careful negotiation, timely interventions, and innovative solutions, the rebellion was contained without bloodshed. The colonies recognized the wisdom of the princess and the human, and the empire's reputation grew stronger. The human's role was now seen not as an outsider, but as an indispensable ally. After the crisis, Ariana turned to him with a smile that was both proud and affectionate. See what we can do when we work together? You are not merely a visitor. You are my partner, in every sense that matters. The human nodded, feeling a profound sense of belonging. And you are not just a princess, but a leader I am honored to serve and someone I am proud to know. The council, having witnessed their combined success, began to accept the human fully. He was officially granted a position within the Royal Advisory Circle, a rare honor for someone of another species. But more importantly, the princess's affection and trust were unwavering, and he no longer feared leaving or being forced to leave. Days turned into cycles, and the human adapted fully to life within the empire, his influence and wisdom respected, and through every challenge, every success, and every quiet moment under the stars, the bond between him and Princess Ariana grew stronger. In the quiet hours, standing together on the observation deck, he realized the truth. He had come to the Empire on a temporary mission, expecting only to serve and leave. Instead, he had found purpose, adventure, and connection that no mission could have predicted. He was not leaving, not because he was forced, but because he had chosen a new path, alongside a princess who had chosen him in return. And for the first time in his life, he understood that home was not merely a place, but a shared journey built with trust, courage, and care, and that journey was only just beginning. The stars outside continued to shine, endless and brilliant, reflecting the limitless possibilities that awaited